It only takes a few games before you'll encounter a skilled Wraith player. At their best, the interdimensional skirmisher can be nearly impossible to hit, but if you want to play the class well, you'll need to understand how she works. We'll break down the character, her moveset, her abilities, and everything you need to know to get good with Wraith. A bit of backstory to start things off. Wraith's real name is unclear. She woke up one day in an IMC detention facility for the mentally ill with amnesia and a new helping of interdimensional powers. If not stressful enough, these powers also have voices in her head that have driven her clinically insane.
Changes everything.
Anyway, Wraith's moveset and abilities. Wraith's moves and abilities are all operating around the dimensional jumping ability. She can jump out of sight, sense when enemies are close, and establish teleporters for her team. Due to the non-combat focus of her skills, she intended more as a stealth character than anything. Her tactical ability, Into the Void. When you activate this skill, Wraith will vanish from the physical world and enter an alternate dimension for a short time. This turns you invisible and you cannot take damage. It's a great way to escape dangerous situations and safely reposition yourself in the battlefield. Be careful though, you still have a purple trail when you move, so they do know where you're going. With a 15-second cooldown, you can use this skill a couple of times in some of the longer skirmishers on the field. There are a few things to be careful for, however. There's a short moment between pressing the button and actually entering the void. During this time you can still be damaged, so make sure you kind of lead your activation. The same is true for when you leave the void. Don't expect to be able to start shooting the exact moment you pop back into real life. You have to have a moment to re-equip your weapon. Try to remember where everyone is when you left though. When you enter the void, you cannot see any of the players that were out on the battlefield. You can, however, see other Wraith characters that have entered the void at the same time. Her passive ability, Voices from the Void. Remember the voices in the head we talked about earlier? They actually will help the player in-game. Whenever Wraith is somewhere in the sights of somebody or near an enemy trap, voices will let you know.
Heads up. Not all of us are in it. They spotted me. Someone's got a shot on me, pretty sure.
The limitations and the logic of what the game considers in somebody's sight is kind of unreliable, so it's hard to tell, and it may or may not guarantee safety out in the field.
I'm getting hit over here. I'm down.
That and between the sound of warfare, it's easy to overlook whenever these voices are trying to speak to you. You can, however, let your teammates know when your character has heard these voices trying to warn you. This is done with the H key on PC and the down on the D-pad for consoles. And then there's her ultimate, Dimensional Rift. This non-combat based ultimate is another classic take on multiplayer skills. It's a teleporter. When activated, Wraith will generate a dimensional rift and gain additional movement speed for a short amount of time. Then she will place a second rift by pressing the key again. For 60 seconds, these two rifts will stay on the battlefield, allowing players and enemies both to jump between them as a teleportation system. There's a lot of tactical potential to this skill. It can be used to allow downed teammates to escape somewhere safely for easier revival. It can be used to bait and trick your enemies into an unideal location, and it can be used to ambush enemies without them knowing. The speed boost you gain from activating this skill is also helpful. Many times you'll see Wraith players activating the teleporter while outside of the player ring, just so that they can more quickly get inside to safety. Wraith's strengths and weaknesses. The best thing about Wraith is her ability to move. She can be all over the battlefield, placing herself where is best for her and most inconvenient for the enemy. She can place herself behind an enemy team while the rest of your team attacks them from the front. This forces them to split their focus up between you and them, and they're no longer able to keep as secure pressure on their location. She is a bit flawed, however, in utilizing these skills. It takes a lot of concentration and some pretty good reflexes to be able to keep up with all of the motion required to stay safe as Wraith. As a result, it takes time to get good doing that. Don't expect to be playing a great Wraith game immediately. You're going to have to give her time, even if you already know what to do. Personally speaking, I think you're best paired up with Gibraltar. The buff tanky nature of him allows him to draw focus from the enemies while you reposition yourself into a more convenient killing spot. This has been Brandon with GamersUnite.com. Thanks for watching. Check out more of our videos. Have a good Apex. Yeah.
You